Welcome back, barbecue lovers, to another week of Wise Guys BBQ podcast. I'm Vin Picaro. This week, we are blessed to have Bob Baumann back with us again, bringing one of his champion friends, John Sherry, from Chunky Barbecue. We're going to meet him and hear all about his fantastic year that he just had. And as always, my Baron of Biscuit over there, my bucket of love.
Biscuit, brisket, food, whatever.
Yep, Charlie Baldwin.
Choke it out, big fella.
I'm trying. Trying to be more professional than I am. So welcome, John. Thanks for joining us. And Bob, thanks for being back again.
Yep.
So, we were talking a little bit. I'll let you catch up again on your intro.
Yeah, so we're, gentlemen, we're in the presence of some royalty. John, I see the crown in the back, and where's the robe? You're not wearing the apparel?
I'm not wearing the robe currently. Had to take it off a little bit. Plan on getting plenty of wear out of that next year, though. So
nice. Is there really a robe? You guys pulling my leg?
No,
there's a robe.
There's really a robe.
Oh, that's amazing.
And you know, John, because you slept in it that night, didn't you?
I'm not gonna lie, it hasn't really left my sight for about 2 weeks.
That's so awesome.
That's awesome.
So, John, tell us what happened. Our listeners are dying to know. We're talking about you being on top of the barbecue world. Why?
Yeah, so we were 2 weeks ago. We were out in Kansas City for the American Royal World Series of Barbecue. We've also been pushing for Kansas City Barbecue Society Team of the Year. It came down to the final day of the season. All we had to do was beat 444 or 43 other teams for the GOP to win and to win both the American Royal, the Open Contest, and Team of the Year. And when the final name was, we were fortunate enough to be crowned grand champions of the American Royal Open, our first world championship, also earning KCBS Team of the Year honors by 1 point.
So you swept all three of those. You swept Team of the Year.
Well, we swept team. We won Team of the Year and the Open Contest at the American Royal.
Wow.
So, explain to me, what's the drop off on that? I mean, we talk a lot about, some of the local competitions that we go to in New England, and you find the judging so damn close with when you have 20, 30 teams. How does that compromise compared to 450 teams? I mean, is everybody pulling top-notch scores and it's just a sliver of a success, or is there a drop-off?
I mean, so there were 12 700-plus scores, so starting 12th place and up. Realistically, I honestly, I haven't really looked at the team list, but there's easily, out of, say, 450 teams, easily probably 100 guys there can win that contest if they just, turn in good food, hit the right combination of tables. There's certainly guys out there, they might cook one time a year. They're there to have a good time.
Yeah.
I just guessing, probably half that field, are guys who cook, 5+ times a year at least.
How many times a year do you cook?
This year we cooked 40. Probably half of the field there are guys who cook 5+ times a year. This year ourselves, we cooked 40 contests.
Yeah.
Which is a lot. Previous, last year we cooked 35. We've been doing 30+ contests for, I think this is our third or fourth year doing that.
Okay. And Bob, you said the first time you met John was
the first time I ever met John was last year, my very first KCBS Masters competition in Connecticut.
Okay.
And Rico was my team member at the time. Rico and I pull in, and we were parked right next to John, and Rico's like, hey, we're next to Chunky. And I'm like, okay, all right. So then I'm like, okay, just another guy, all right. Yeah. So I go and I talk to John for a little bit, and he's at his trailer. And John, how many competitions do you do a year? And you said, oh, well, during COVID, we kind of slacked off a little bit because there was no competitions. And then he was telling me next year, meaning 2024, we want to do about 40 competitions. I looked at him and I said, John, are you aware there's 52 weeks in a year? And didn't even faze him. That's the look I got was like, yeah, so.
It's a short off season.
Yeah. So yeah. But this season, then I took his class, and then I've been following John throughout his whole 2024 season, and basically I would just text him. I'd send him a message every weekend saying, "Where are you at this weekend? Where are you at this weekend?
Yeah.
Good luck," and just watched him progress all the way through. And it was just astonishing just to watch it all play out throughout the whole season. So
That's fantastic.
John, a little perspective here. So how many teams like your level that really have a legitimate shot at the the Kansas City title? How many would you say that are out there? The top tier competitors.
I mean, I always hate talking about myself in those kind of terms, but
Yeah.
so I mean, like this year it came down to it came down the last few weeks. There's three of us. There was myself, Janky Leg out of Illinois, and Rooters and Tutors out of Tennessee. I mean, and then I mean, honestly, as far as about the amount of contests people are doing, there might be. I think last year they said there were, I want to say 47 teams that did 30 or more contests a year. It's not that you have to cook that volume to have a shot at winning team of the year, but obviously it gives you're giving yourself more chances to win. Like I think Janky Leg, for example, he was around 30. He really didn't plan on pushing for team of the year. It just he got hot at the right time. I think Rooters and Tutors, they were right around contests. So there's probably again just a guess. I mean, I guess there's probably about 50 teams. Because again, I mean the biggest thing is it's time and money.
Sure.
So you have to. I mean, and for a lot of us, it's really just the time.
Yeah.
Like there's 52 weeks in a year. We're cooking 40 contests. So it's a grind. It's not for everybody. We're definitely going to slow down a little bit, at least for the next year or two.
So is this a legitimate profession for you? Are you doing? Do you have a day job? No.
I have a day job.
Yeah.
This has become a second job. It doesn't pay very well, but
I can
I love
imagine.
it.
Yeah. And you said that when you do that many cooks, and any competitor doing that many cooks a year improves their chances. Like, what gets significantly better in the process? Is it timing? Is it the recipe? Is it the meat preparation? Like, what makes the difference in those 40 practicing opportunities?
I mean, really, it's the consistency. And when you're cooking every weekend, it honestly gets a little boring after a while. Because if week to week there's gonna be some variation, like when things are done, stuff like that. But just the consistency of your cooks, like for example, say pork. Like I just know that in general, pork's gonna this year pork was coming off by 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
That might vary 5 to 10 minutes, but in general, I was going to be in that range, just knowing from cooking week after week after week. But it also enables you. You get better at making those last minute adjustments. You can see trends. What are the judges liking? What aren't they liking?
Yeah.
So there's an advantage to cooking more. If you can, there's an advantage to that.
Gotcha.
Definitely. John, so you've now launched yourself into a different realm of barbecue competitors now. You're gonna be looked at a little differently. Has that started already?
It has, and I'm probably not. I'm not that comfortable with it. I mean, a lot of people are usually kind of surprised. I'm a pretty reserved guy. I'm not very outspoken, outgoing. I'm sitting in the back of the room, pretty quiet. But at the same time, this is what I wanted. When we started, that was one of the goals was to get that world championship. Team of the year less so, but like this year when we saw we were right there for the second year in a row, really. It's like, you know what? One more push. Let's see if we can get it. But it's been nice. I mean, I've had, I don't know if you guys have ever met Mark and Christine from Fire at the End of the Day.
Yes.
But Mark said, they won the Invitational the year before at the Open or at the American Royal. And he's like, John, be prepared for at least 60 new friend requests from people you have no idea. and probably Sunday night after we won, I probably had at least half of those.
Yeah. That's great.
So one of the things that came up that can show how you catapulted to the front is you're doing a class again. And this time you're doing your class is solo. Last year you did it with Top Gun. Is that correct, John? Yep.
Yeah. No, we're actually still doing.
Oh, you're still doing
another one. We're actually doing another one with Top Gun in December. I love those guys. They're like the brothers I never had.
But your class, went online, went public, and probably I want to say, like 4 days it was sold out. 4 or 5 days, it was done.
It was probably 2.
Honestly,
so I posted it. I bet I was half full within the first 20 minutes.
Oh yeah.
We're taking about 35.
Yeah.
It's a lot in the trim, but I was full, I think, in 2 days.
2 days.
So can one or both of you explain to me what the class consists of? Is it virtual? Is it all virtual? Is it in person? Is it, what is it? What is it, John?
Oh, no, so this will be, and even the one in December. It's an in-person class.
Okay. Does that happen in Pennsylvania?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
It'll be in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And so guys come in. I will be running through my entire recipes, timelines, trim. So basically they'll come in Friday night. We go over trimming, injections, rubs. You'll have a catered dinner. And then Saturday we run right through a full cook. Like they're seeing everything they do. They're getting all, again, like, and at the same time, like when things maybe don't go quite the way I want, they'll see how I correct, how I, react when they aren't quite going my way. So and it's basically a tell-all class.
Oh, that's cool. And so you run, and we talked about this a little bit with Bob. So that Saturday, you run it like a competition. You have your multiple meets and your turning times, and you give them that whole progression.
I'll be out there at 5:30 in the morning, light my brisket drum, and they'll see it from start to finish.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Bob,
I'm sorry.
No, you go. I can pick up.
Bob, you took the class. What did you get out of it the most?
What I wanted out of it the most was just the timeline, just when they start their process. Everybody has their routine, and just understanding like what steps to take and at what time. Timing to me in competition barbecue is very important.
Of course.
You slip up and you're done.
Right, because they probably continue. Right, that if you make a mistake in your first turn in, shorten your timeline, or you have to re-alter your timeline later on. Right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So, and it affects your flavors, your injections, when you inject, how long you let it go before you put it on the smoker. This is all part of the trade.
Right. And where were you in your competition, plight at that point? You were only 1 year in, I
was 1 year in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John, what do you find? What kind of folks are taking your class? Are they, newbies? Are they 10 years in? Like, what are they?
So this year for our tell-all, we have a pretty good mix. I would say, there's probably a third or a good mix of guys. Maybe they've been cooking a year or two. Some backyard guys. Then we have, a pretty good mix of competition guys that I see most weekends. And then there's probably another handful or so of other world champions, guys that, cook, 30 times plus.
Yeah.
As well. So it's a pretty good mix this year.
And does that make it hard for you? Would you say Top Smoke is the other?
Top Gun.
Top Gun
Top
is the
Gun
other.
was his. Yeah, he did the class with Top Gun.
Does it make it difficult for you to have to teach to that broad band of people, or do the people that do 30 plus cooks, are they obnoxious?
I'll say right now, I am more nervous doing a class than I am cooking a contest.
Yeah.
because like when I'm cooking a con, I mean, I turn it in. Six, strangers will tell me whether they like it or not.
Mhm.
But when someone's giving you their hard-earned money to learn from you, you have all the pressure in the world to turn out good food that day.
Right.
Like there's no I mean, because to be honest, like if I cook a contest, I cook 3 racks of ribs,
Yep.
and one rack's gonna be the standout, but there might be one dog in there too. When
Okay.
I'm cooking for 30 people and they're all giving me money for that, there can't be any dogs.
Right.
Like every rack needs to be spot on.
Right.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
Okay, so you're cooking for the whole class, and you're showing
Yes.
them how to do it. They're not actually cooking themselves at all.
No, they're.
Yeah.
I mean, they can ask any questions and and stuff like that. But yeah, no, all the cooking is done by me, and I'm probably gonna have a few helpers as well.
Gotcha. That's good. That's an awesome experience.
And I'm sorry if you already answered this. How many years have you been cooking in competition?
Our first contest was in 2017.
Okay.
We did 2 contests that year, and then we didn't cook another contest. We didn't do 2018. We were off. 2019 we cooked, I think, 5 or 7. 2020 we cooked 8 just due to COVID. Like we were really ready. In 2020 we were going to. I bet we probably would have cooked 20 or more contests that year.
Right.
But unfortunately COVID happened, and then ever since then, like I said, we've been right around 30 or more.
And you're saying we, is that you and Stephanie?
It'd be me and my wife, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So that's who I met. So I assume that was your team. So is that pretty much that's it? You and Stephanie is your team, and that's it.
That is the team. It is me and Stephanie.
Amazing. It's so cool how you guys get all that work done. Just just the week preparation and getting the trailer cleaned and prepped and ready to move out and then come back and break down after. It's so much work. People think you see the amount of work you recognize is a lot, so it's like, wow. But then there's probably equal amount of that work that you don't see 2 days before and 2 days after. That it's just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the theme we keep running into. Like, I mean, if you're gonna do barbecue and compete and give your food to other people, you better be all in.
Yeah.
Right? Like, nobody's half-assing it out there. It's too much work to
Absolutely.
just go by the seat of your pants. It's too much of a commitment.
Yeah.
And everybody seems to just be, balls deep, if you want to. I don't know. I had to say that. I don't know. I mean, in.
John, when does your competition week start? Do you start on Tuesdays I'm going to start?
I mean, depending on whether it's a single or if it's a single Friday, Saturday competition, I'm probably doing something Sunday night. If it's a double, so we're getting home Sunday night, I'm probably starting Monday 5 o'clock as soon as my work day's over. Trimming something.
Right.
Like again, that is the part no one sees. I mean, it essentially is a second job. So if I work say 8 to 5 Monday, I'm probably going to spend from probably 6 o'clock till maybe 11 trimming chicken, ribs, pork, something.
Yeah, so my week starts Tuesday.
Okay.
I think Monday I'll maybe go out and gather up some last minute stuff.
Yep.
I don't like to buy chicken too early. I like it to get it right off the shelf and get to trimming it right away.
Yeah.
So I start around, my week starts Tuesday, and then Wednesday we'll do, trim up something else, trim up, just little chunks of time after work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a hard time putting the logistics to the cook, right? So what I do for a living, John, is logistics. So
That's called irony.
So no, but it's like I can, the whole process of getting your rig ready, everything in the rig, on the road, at the place, set up, the cook at the event, I think I can manage well. But everything else you guys just talked about with the amount of, getting your food, trimming your food, storing your food from that Tuesday to Saturday on your cook and keeping it, that alone's got to be daunting, right? How do you keep that meat fresh during that time, right? So when you guys probably got fridges in your trailer and you're turning those on Thursday night or something, getting them cold and taking them out in the fridges. Is that how you're doing them?
I mean, so like, yeah, again, like, so I mean, I'll trim, like, everything will be trimmed ideally by Tuesday night.
Yep.
And it's vac sealed in the fridge at home. And then, so say if we're leaving Thursday, typically I like transporting my meat to the contest in a cooler,
Okay.
and I'll pack it, get it all nice and packed in.
Yep.
I have a fridge in the trailer, so once we get there, we get set up, we get plugged in. Once it's cold enough, we'll start transferring stuff from the cooler into the fridge.
Yeah. That's crazy. Like, that blows my mind.
Yep.
John, how did you come up with Chunky Barbecue?
Yeah.
I wish I had a better story, but it came from two very unimaginative people. We were getting ready to do our first contest in 2017, and we're sitting around, at the house, just we're like, what are we going to call ourselves? And I would always refer to my wife as my Chunky Monkey, and she hated that nickname. Truly.
Oh boy, there we go.
What about Chunky Barbecue? And everybody hated the name. Everyone hated the name. And I'm like, I don't care. This is what we're running with.
Yeah.
And it stuck, and here we are.
There you go.
I like it. It's short, to the point.
You get it.
Right? It's got legs on it.
Yeah. Yep.
Good name.
Yep.
Good name.
Yeah, no, it's amazing because one of, starting this for us with Barbecue News and then moving over to the podcast, I'm amazed with the whole process. So that, like a moth to a flame, I was drawn in. And with that being said, it amazes me that, to me, all you guys are celebrities. And I know a lot of competitors feel like you do, John, where you're not, you're not flamingos, you're not front runners. You guys kind of all do your own thing. You're kind of like, you got your own church of wisdom in your kitchens and your cooks, and you're just that kind of people. But I know in your circles, you got great friends, and you got like celebrity status with each other, but who did what and what weekend. But I often think that there should be almost like a mini series about competition cooks throughout a whole year, because you guys definitely have celebrity status. I mean, you don't need the slow motion walk-arounds in your cooking pits. You don't need that much of it, but there definitely could be a build, I think, on the culture of that group. I just think it's almost called for. It's interesting to me.
We'll get that going soon.
Yeah, we're working on that.
So, obvious answer is, if I asked you what was your favorite competition this whole season, I'm sure the Royal. So what would be runner up?
I mean, so prior to winning the Royal, it's Wildwood, New Jersey.
Yeah.
It also helps we've won that the last 3 years in a row as well. But you're cooking 50 yards from the shore. I mean, you can just you can walk over to the beach, spend the afternoon. It's a great contest. They draw a lot of people in. There's usually around 60 plus cook teams, and they'll put about 100,000 spectators through there as well. It's a great time.
Yeah, that one's goes along with a festival. Is that correct? Wildwood.
Correct. Yeah, they have a barbecue festival. That, like I said, it's a 3-day. It starts Friday, runs through Sunday evening. The contest that the KCBS cook is Saturday night to Sunday, so it's a little bit of an odd one because for whatever reason, like the Mid Atlantic doesn't have a lot of single competitions that go that way, but it's just a very relaxing weekend. Cool. So we've done that one, I think, for 4 years now.
So you bring up the question that I had prior, and even more so now. So if that's a relaxing one, what's pressure for you? Like what's the most pressure? Obviously, when you get to like you did at the Royal, and it was pinnacle to stay out in front, that's got to add a lot of pressure. But is there any of those 40 cooks that are more pressure than others for you, just either because of the competition or where it is, or is it?
I mean, the majors certainly are some like the Jack Daniels Invitational, the Royal certainly. Yeah. There's a contest in DC. Those ones, the DC contest could almost be a mini major usually for the field that's there. So that adds a little bit of pressure just because when you do see all the top teams there, you just know everything has to be on point.
Yep.
You may not hit the right tables, but just in the event that you do, you don't want to have a bad cook that day.
Right. And that comparison to the one I was at with Cora, that's got to be a real relaxed one for you, right? Because smaller amount of teams and.
I mean, Cora is a great contest. It is definitely a very low key contest. I love Cora.
Mm-hmm.
We've been there twice. The rib auction. That was our first year participating in the rib auction. I was completely blindsided by how all that worked. It was a great time though. Yeah. Kathy kind of caught me off guard with that. She didn't tell me I had to. She's like, "Oh, you got to go up and talk." I'm like, "What do you mean I got to go up and talk?" I thought I just had to turn. I'm like, "Hey, I'm not just a barbecue cook. I want to turn in my 4 racks. You do with do with them what you will." But
yeah.
So I guarantee. But so we did the kids queue up there, which they do in conjunction with Children's Hospital. And we had Carter. He was just. It made the weekend. It was a great time. It was a great experience. I guarantee we'll be back this year.
That's good. I want Charlie to come, witness that rib auction. I think he'd like that. So we're gonna be back up there for sure. That's one we can make. So,
John, you talk. Obviously you've done a million cooks. You've talked already tonight about what you look for. You look for consistency. That being said, how did you feel when you turned in your food at the Royal? Did you feel like, hey, something? This is pretty good. I got a shot here, or it's just like, hey, I do my thing, do the best I can, turn it in, and it's not up to me anymore anyway.
The best way I can put it, and I know other guys have said this too. When we sent that in, I had one with worse food, and we had sat on our hands with better. So I mean, it was a very solid. Both days out there were a very solid cook. It's just it's just a matter of getting on those right tables. We made the right decisions. Part of the Royals also, a lot of guys have a turn-in strategy out there. Some guys will turn in together. It's one of the few contests you can kind of control who you turn in with.
Explain that to me.
There's so much way to. So normally, if you go to a 30-team contest, they'll they take the trays, they take them back, they'll mix them up for the double blind judging.
Right.
They try they try to avoid so the same teams don't keep hitting the same tables together.
Yep.
But out at the Royal, there's so many teams, they don't have that opportunity. There's no way to go in the back and try to sort them. And so out there, you can try to turn in together with some other good teams. Try to avoid maybe somebody who doesn't cook a whole lot. So, and it was a very cool, damp weekend. So when my wife talked about it, and I'm like, what we wanted to do was look for trays that were ready to go straight back. Even if we weren't going to be first on table that the judges are trying, just to avoid the food sitting, getting cold, tightening up a little bit. So.
Love it. I love the strategic aspect that you can find in some of these cooks. There is a lot of thinking that goes into it when you get to that level. You want to think of every little thing that can give you an advantage or push you over the top.
Yeah, that was one of Bob's questions that he wrote down earlier. I mean, is there anything from the competition community that that's persuades you to try different things or do different things? Do you learn from anybody? Is there somebody that stands out that taught you a lot in your journey since 2017?
I mean, there's a lot of guys that, because again, it is a big family out there. So there are, everybody has their group. So there's there's a lot of us that will, I'm trying to think, for example, Urkel Chilla with Uncle Pig's Barbecue Pit. Me and him are pretty close. Even, Top Gun, even though they're not cooking as much, they're great cooks. Dan's definitely helped me a lot, even this year. Just I can bounce ideas off of them.
Yeah.
Because one of the things, like everybody's doing the same thing in comp barbecue right now. So many guys are turning in just say pork medallions, and I think one of the things we did, especially towards the end of the year, we started trying to make our boxes a little different. We started to try because the judges have been kind of screaming for people to put pulled pork in the box.
Yeah.
Well, we started putting pulled pork back in the box, and we won so basically by putting pulled pork in, we both won the American Royal and finished 10th at the Jack Daniel's Invitational.
Nice.
By making that change.
Oh, that's cool. So, I mean, and right. So sorry for the novice questions. People don't like to put pulled pork because it comes out dry, right? It could be perceived as dry when it gets tasted. That's a risk you run.
The problem with right now, basically, you're trying to avoid it. You're lessening your chances of getting dinged by a judge. There's a fair bit of consensus on what's like a good, say, medallion or slice of brisket.
Okay.
But to get 6 judges to agree on, say, what is a good burn in, or what is good pulled pork, that's a little harder because you might get 3 judges who love your pulled pork.
Yeah.
You get 3 judges who might go, oh, it's a little mushy or it's a little dry. So it's just one of those. It has to be spot on to put it in.
Yeah.
Like you have to love it. Like not like it, you have to love it to put it in.
Gotcha.
Right. So don't put anything in your box.
Yeah.
That you don't
that
like.
you don't like.
Yeah.
That's usually the rule of thumb. If it doesn't make the cut,
Yeah.
and it doesn't go in the box.
And who judges that for you, John? Is that you? Is that Stephanie? Is that a combination of both of you that's really picking? You know, we've had some people tell us that they have like a taster on their team that they'll tell you if they're in the top tier because of the taste. Do you guys have that ability?
Yeah. I mean, it's a combination. I mean, we'll discuss what we think, but I still make the final call just because that way, like, my wife's even told me that way, if it doesn't get a call, if we don't get a call saying Rip, I'm the one who made that decision.
Yeah.
Like it wasn't on her, it was on me. So she'll give her opinion and then I make the final decision.
Yep. Yeah.
Keep that harmony.
That's right.
Right.
You go down,
the buck has to stop with somebody, right? Might as well be you.
Yep.
Pick your battles. John, since we're going along, like the way you've peaked here at the Royal, how's your equipment? What kind of equipment have you changed the equipment you use, the fuel you used over the years to where you are today?
I mean, so we've cooked on 4 Gateway drum smokers really since 2020. I did add a Rec Tech to the trailer. Just for I wanted something that was a little more set it and forget it when I needed it. But generally speaking, we cook on 4 drums. And that, like I said, but when I first started, we cooked on a Stumps Classic. We started out on a gravity feed. And we had a couple of calls on that, but we took the hot and fast class with Tim Shear and Brad Leniger back in 2020, and they were obviously running Gateway drums. And so I looked at we're flying home from Kansas City, and I looked at my wife. I'm like, so are we going to run their program on our gravity feed? And she's like, no, you're going to buy 3 more drums, and we're going to run their program. So
she sounds all in too on this stuff, huh? She's no joke on this. She's not supporting you. It sounds like you guys are like right there attached to the hip.
Well, she agrees on the, if we're going to do something, we're going to do it right. We're not going to half-ass it. We're going to, again, we're all in on the barbecue.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
it doesn't work. You can't work any other way, I don't think. I mean,
right.
You would both be in on it, or
you're
not going to be together too long. If someone's doing 40 cooks a year.
Yeah. I even think it's tough. Like, we've met some people that say, I do 3 or 4. Like, I get the people that do 1 or 2 because it's usually charity and it's fun.
Like Rich,
right?
He said, what did he say? He did like 8 to 10.
Yeah, like Rich.
Like
that comes to mind. Like, he's one of those guys that he's not 20 or 30 and he's not 1 or 2, right? So he's cooking a lot, but he's competing once in a while. I couldn't do that. I'd have to. If I'm going to compete and I'm going to put the time and effort and money into the equipment, and when I got to do 20, right? I got to get better at it. It's like John's saying, if you're not getting better at it, what the hell are you doing it for, right? But still.
you get in the groove.
Yeah.
As you do it, you get in a groove. So like, week in, week out, you just go and you compete.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of like John said, it gets bored.
Yeah.
It's just it's the same routine,
Right.
and then you're just waiting for that, like, oh, pit's not getting up to temperature, or meat's taking too long to get up to temperature,
Right.
or it's done too soon. Now what do we do? You know, all that plays into the picture. But the general schedule and philosophy is that, you know, you just are in this pattern
Right.
of a cycle. Keep doing it.
Which helps with your consistency, which is what you're looking for,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. That's what you're looking for.
And I'm sure, John, there's no other hobbies, right? You're not playing 20, 30 rounds of golf or anything, are you?
I wish I was. I only got out once so far this year. So.
What's that? You got it once?
I only got out once this year. We a group of us, we played there was a contest in Delaware. We actually played the Friday morning before the cook.
Oh, wow.
So I got out this year.
Nice. Sounds awesome.
Yeah. So next year, 2025, there is on the schedule. There's a like a World Series event here in New York.
Yes.
Has that made it to your schedule?
Oh no, yeah, I had already told the organizer. I mean, actually, the funny part about that is, so it's Jeremy. What's Jeremy's last name? I can't, because he does the campground.
Yeah,
series
he does he's the campground series. Yeah.
Whenever he was passing that out at the end of the year, he was passing out the flyers for it. He looked at me. He's like, "I'm not even going to give you one because I know you're coming."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yes, no, I will absolutely be there."
Right.
So we'll be there.
Yeah, that's cool.
Now is he doing that? It's an invitational plus an open. Is he running it like the Royal, where you have to do both as an invitational competitor?
Well, no. So he has an invitational and an open. So the open's open to anybody.
Right.
Now the invitational, I believe, I want to say he has a 2-year qualifying period, and it's a grand championship or a reserve grand championship or the invitational. But yeah, no, the open is open to anybody.
Right. But are you required as an invitational competitor to do the open as well? Because the Royal was like 100 and something. Am I getting this correct? Yes. So the Royal.
Oh, no, yeah. If you cook the invitational at the American Royal, you have to cook the open.
Right.
But I don't know, but I would have to say you don't have to. You could probably cook the invitational and not the open, but he's paying out $50,000 in the open. If you're there, you may as well cook it.
Cook it, right? Yeah, work it as a double. Yeah.
Speaking of invitationals, John, so you've got you've got the Royal title in your belt. Is that like, you win the Masters in golf, you automatically get an invite back to like every major in the golf circuit for the next 15 years or something? Is there any reciprocity like that? Do you get automatic invites to other competitions because you won the Royal?
Yes. So obviously, 1, we're good for the Royal next year. 2, we're good for the Jack Daniels Invitational as well. And then we also get an invite to the Houston Livestock and Rodeo.
Nice.
Show. So we're absolutely going to that. And so I actually went last year with Uncle Pig's barbecue pit. I cooked with him down there. And so the great thing is we both looked at each other going, we want to come back. Like one of us needs to win either the open or the invitation or the Jack to go back. And we won. So like we're heading back this year.
Great.
The Houston Livestock event, have you done that before?
Yes.
Yeah. Is that a good time? How does that equate to something else that we might know?
I had never been to Texas before, but there's always that saying, everything's bigger in Texas. And I went down for the Houston Livestock and Rodeo show, and it's true. It was it was just a great time. It was fantastic.
That's
and
awesome.
It was
on the wish
John.
list.
It was a four teams combined down in Texas. It was you, Uncle Pigs. Who else went with you? I forget. Urkel.
Yes. Urkel with Mark from Uncle Pigs.
Yep.
Again, they had Urkel away by winning the Jack. And then I went, and
Sid.
then Sid from Googly Goo went.
Yep. Sid.
And I think that was our team down there.
Okay.
Now, how does that work? Does everybody have equal responsibility in every turn-in to cook, or do you guys pick up different meats and one cook per each turn-in on the meat? Or how do you split up that It sounds like too many chiefs, not enough Indians in that group.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we everybody kind of get. Well, so I mean, like obviously, Urkel had earned the right by winning the Jacks. It was his thing. All the final decisions were his.
Okay.
And so me and Sid were more there, giving our input, helping where we could.
Okay.
Thing like. The best part is whenever he invited me, he asked me if I wanted to come cook pork at the Houston Livestock Rodeo Show. I'm like, hell yeah, I'll go come cook pork. They don't cook pork there.
It's all beef. It's Texas, right?
It's Texas.
That's right. Those damn hogs out of there. It's Texas.
All right.
And you also, so KCBS, you finished Team of the Year. You also finished first place in pork.
Correct.
Yeah.
Would you turn in?
Also,
and that was points you were chasing there as well, correct?
Honestly, I wanted pork Team of the Year just as bad as I wanted Team of the Year.
Really?
We've been pretty solid pork cooks for about 3 years now. I mean, it's probably it's our hammer. Like that's the category that honestly, I go in most contests hoping, or if it's a 30-team contest, I'm expecting to win pork. That's just how confident we are in pork.
That's fantastic.
What are you turning in, John? What are you turning in for your pork? Medallions? What are you doing?
I mean, most of the year we turned in medallions. We did turn in pulled occasionally. Like I said, at the end of the year, we turned it in a handful of times.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to think. We probably turned in pulled five times this year. I think we had calls in it, and 4, on those boxes, 4 out of the 5.
Nice.
So
amazing.
Do you think that the judges are looking for a more full-looking box with the pork? Because I've struggled with this a lot.
I mean, the judges are just getting. I mean, everyone's doing. Everybody's been doing medallions probably for 2 years now. The judges are just getting bored of it, honestly.
Okay. Yep.
And I think they're, and the more I've talked with them, they're mentioning they want to see it. Now, obviously, the good judges are still they're not going to hold it against you if you don't put it in. But I feel if you can put it in, if it is good, it can only help your score at this point. Because again, they want to see it.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Fantastic.
one of the questions is the trends of the judges. So do you find, other than the pork scenario, do you find other trends among judges that skew how you present year over year?
I mean, because even the same thing with brisket. I mean, I think they've been for a couple of years now. They've been saying they want to see burn ends, and I mean, burn ends even more so than pork. If they're not if you're not 100% confident in them, they don't go in the box. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, even if I'm 100% confident in them, I don't think I still wouldn't put them in. There's too much risk to put them in at this point. Still, because a lot of people just don't like. I mean. There's some judges that don't like burn-ins. They think they're too fatty, what have you. And then probably the one trend that I noticed more so is like with tenderness. Tenderness this year was a moving target. Week to week, you didn't know if they wanted something a little more on like the overside of done or just maybe a hair under. It was you really had to guess.
It's interesting. Tough to hit a moving target, right?
It's very hard to hit a moving target.
Yeah. Cool.
What do you think is an edge that you have that got you this far? Is there something, the meats that you use? I know you're one of the so this is why I took your class. You're one of the top teams that doesn't have a line of product. You're using off-the-shelf things that anybody can get their hands on. Is there something that you think gave you the edge this year?
I mean, it's hard to say. I know. I think the one thing gives any of the guys who are winning consistently. I can, some of the guys that I do talk with, we live this 24/7. I can be sitting there, watching a football game and my mind is going, so what am I going to change for next year? I'm already thinking like, what can I do differently next year? I mean, we're putting we're living comp barbecue 24/7.
Yeah.
Anybody that's successful at this, I mean, they have that attention to detail. They're probably a little OCD. You really have to put the work in. And there's a lot of guys that do that.
So in that statement, right? So when you say, what am I going to do different next year? Are you doing something different in the process to make the process more fluid, so therefore it's more consistent? Or are you doing something that's going to be like changed up? Like, I'm not using that spice mix anymore in my pork because it's too edgy for me. I need something more consistent. So I'm going to change a process rather than change the flow of processes. Does that make sense? Is that a fair question? I don't know. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I'm always looking at ways just to make our process a little more efficient.
Yeah.
Because for one, when you're cooking, even if you're cooking 20 times a year, it's tiresome. Like, yeah. I mean, it is very tiring to do this. So like, from 2 years ago to this year, we upgraded our trailer. We got a full cook trailer.
Okay.
Which cut down which cut down our setup and tear down time. I think that made a big difference because we weren't as tired.
Yeah.
One thing I'm looking at this year, and I've already had a couple of my friends already yell at me for it. I feel like there's certain pockets where you can benefit from the style of cooker you're cooking on.
What do you mean?
So while I've 4 drums for 4 years now, yeah. I've been looking at adding like a small offset to the trailer just to give myself flexibility depending on where we're cooking at.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. And people are pissed at you because they think that's too radical for you?
Well, I mean, for example, our friends with Top Gun, I was texting Dan about that the other day, and he's like, "You just won the American Royal Open, and you want to change
These are good points."
But yeah, I mean, you bring up here in New England, Humphreys has got to be like 50% of the teams at least.
Mm-hmm.
And then your barrel cookers or your Weber Smokies. And then there's just a handful of people that, have the offset and continue to do on an offset. And I do know that, Fire at the end of the day, they have their offset and they do very well with that.
Yep. And the stick burn in that offset, right? Yeah. I hear you. That's my question, because that goes to my question, because I can, again, being a logistics guy, year over year, I want to make things easier for me in the process so I can spend more time on what I enjoy doing in the competition, if I was in a competition. And therefore that makes it more pleasurable for me, and hopefully that shines through in my cook. But I guess that you also run the risk of saying, okay, now I just streamlined something that maybe, those things I did before added to my cook, rather than I'm taking it away now because, it's like, mixing paint colors rather than using different paint colors on a canvas, right? So I don't know. That's why I find that interesting.
I think, John, what your point is you travel to so many different locations, is that different locations get a different smoke profile from a different type of smoker. Is that the reason why you would add?
Yeah, because like I said, like how you mentioned before, like for example, you go in the Northeast. I mean, Humphreys do really well up that way.
Mm-hmm.
Like we go to certain pockets of like Virginia, North Carolina. Guys who are cooking on like stick burners seem to do really well. You go out to the Midwest, it can be very just depending on where you're at. Like there are some contests they love cans. There's other places, they prefer like the Outlaw, Jambo set. So I mean, there does seem to be something to that, So it's something I've toyed around with in my mind. Whether I do or not, who knows? But yeah, no, I think adding that flexibility it can't hurt.
Right.
Terrific. That's what's great about all you competitors. You have so much knowledge and guts that you're willing to do different things because in the end, even if you screwed up a decision, you can probably still pull off the cook, right? Probably still get it done,
Yeah, I mean, regardless of what you're cooking on, I mean, we're all getting to the same point, at turn in. It's just, and they say so often that it's really those last 15 minutes that makes or breaks a cook, because whether you are cooking on a drum or an offset, or a cabinet smoker, we're all trying to get to that same point.
Yeah.
So, then it just comes down to fire management and being able to, get it in the box.
What's your worst memory at a competition? What was your nightmare? What happened? You forgot all the smokers at home or something? What happened?
No, it was our second competition. We were in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. So about 10 minutes from the house. So this is when we had our gravity feed, and looking back on it, I'm like, wow, John, you were really in it. There were some bad decisions being made back then. So we had this, 1,200 pound smoker on, basically like a utility trailer.
Okay.
No sense. We have like the $6,000 smoker on a $1,000 utility trailer. I didn't know about like jack stands and stuff like that. So I'm up on the trailer. So we left the smoker up on the trailer. I'm up on the I'm up there getting, I believe, chicken off. And so I open the door to the stump and I go to get it. Well, the front end of the trailer started raising up. And so everything started tipping back. And so our chicken actually fell out of the smoker right on, like the pan flipped.
Right over.
Chicken right onto the trailer. And thankfully, so it was they don't cook or KCBS, they cook SCA more now, but Rockin' Robins, Rolf and Rodney came over and basically saved my bacon. Helped, and then they brought us some jack stands, to kind of help stay.
Yeah. Oh wow.
That was almost nightmarishly bad.
Yeah, that's a good one. I haven't I haven't heard one that bad.
That's
John.
a new one.
That's a good one. Yeah,
dumping the smoker off the trailer.
And on year 2. Good.
So is there a 10-second rule on those chicken thighs off the trailer?
Not to finish on the chicken. So I didn't know this was our second competition ever. I'm like, I look at my wife, I'm like, what are we going to do? That all of our chicken had just fallen on the trailer. And Rolf from Rockin' Robins, he's like, rinse it off, re-season it, put it on the smoker.
There we go.
And I'm like, I can't do that. And he's like, you're not eating it.
Yep. What do you guys think? Any quick questions?
John, I just want to know is where do you eat barbecue when you eat barbecue? Is there any restaurants that are on your list, your go-to in your neck of the woods?
Oh, I mean, Harrisburg has no good barbecue.
I was going to ask you.
Nothing around.
Yeah, my family's from down that way, so I know there's a dearth of good barbecue joints.
I mean, there's a few places on the bucket list. Like so when we do go down for Houston, I'm probably gonna stick. I'm thinking about sticking around an extra week and cooking a CBA down there in Austin. I really want to try Franklin barbecue.
Yep.
Anybody that's ever gone there is a great thing. So, but yeah, honestly, I don't eat much barbecue, but I'll probably make an exception for that.
Cool.
Nice. Well, thank you very much for all the knowledge and all the conversation. This has been great, truly entertaining. I loved it. I'm sure our audience is going to love it, and hopefully we'll get you on again not too long down the road if you get the time. I know you're a busy dude, but thanks for doing this, Bob. Thanks for setting this up, and nice having you back in the studio again. So I wish you well and good luck, and let's repeat next year. That'd be awesome. And I'll say good night and happy Friday, everybody. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You gained on me a little bit. I gave some bad news last week, and you pumped us up some big numbers. So I appreciate that. Keep it going, and have a great weekend.
Thank you, John.
See you, John.